When you try to describe it, Moyashimon sounds like a pretty unlikely premise for comedy. It follows the daily lives of a group of students in a Tokyo agricultural college as they learn about bacteria, brewing, and animal husbandry. Yet, if you're willing to give it a shot, you might be pleasantly surprised. The story focuses mainly on Tadayasu Sawaki, a college freshman with the unlikely gift of being able to see microbes with the naked eye. As you might imagine, this is a pretty useful skill for an agricultural student to have, making Sawaki of great interest to both the college's fermentation-obsessed research professor and also a pair of seedy upperclassmen who are trying to set up an illicit sake brewery on the campus. Unfortunately, his peculiar talent has seen him previously branded as a freak or a fantasist, leaving him wary of revealing his gift to anyone and uncertain as to whether he really wants it. Having started on this series with only the bare minimum of prior knowledge about it, I immediately jumped to the conclusion that we were in for some sort of sake brewing shonen fighting series. Yet, as amazing as that undoubtedly would be, for one episode, Moyashimon is much more than that. At heart, it's a college life series, and probably the most obvious comparison I could make in terms of content would be to the likes of Genshiken or Nodame Cantabile. Yet, with no real overarching plot to speak of, Moyashimon lacks their more focused structure. In some ways, I almost want to call it a sitcom. It's more a series of loosely interwoven short stories about the main characters. As such series live or die on the strength of their cast, it's convenient that they're a very likeable bunch. Initially, I was a little dismissive of the characters, as it's very tempting to write them off as one-line stereotypes. We have the hero and his best friend, the mad professor, the aggressive senior researcher, the neat freak, the one who drinks too much, and the comedy relief duo. It's to the series' credit, however, that as time passes we begin to see the characters more and more as distinct individuals, much as you would when attending a real college or university. While the story never goes into excessive detail about the characters' respective lives, each one seems to have their own distinct agenda, and this gives them a certain credibility. Some seem to grow far more than others over the course of the series, but there's more than enough development for everyone to give the story a definite sense of depth. Moyashimon also creates an entirely separate cast of characters from the microbes themselves. Appearing as ridiculously cute caricatures, their exploits and encounters with one another act as a sort of explanation of their real-life functions. There's more than a hint of preschool kids' TV about this, but it's actually quite endearing to watch. The series also contains plenty of convincing factoids about the bacteria, but I couldn't say just how accurate the science is, and I certainly wouldn't suggest referencing it in a biology exam anytime soon. Given the agricultural theme, it's appropriate that much of the humour in Moyashimon comes from the relationship between the characters and their environment. The agricultural college has all the trappings of a working farm, with fields, machinery, and even livestock for the students to contend with. Mundane though it might seem, the setting offers plenty of surreal distractions, from impromptu manure collection and hazardous materials training, to an almost militaristic self-sufficiency festival where students are forced to remain in the grounds by their alarmingly dressed peers. It probably wouldn't be as effective without the strong characterisation to back it up, but the students' struggle to adjust to their decidedly unconventional environment is handled with a rare amount of wit and charm throughout. All things considered, there's really very little to fault Moyashimon. Perhaps compared to the adorable bacteria, the art for the human characters is kind of bland. There is nothing especially wrong with them, but having inevitably lost a little detail from the manga, such as Tadayasu's crazy mane, they seem rather flat and uninspired. By far the biggest problem with the series, however, is its sheer brevity. At 11 episodes, it's just far too short. While most of the series is without any continuing plot threads, a few strands are introduced toward the very end of the series, and these are unfortunately left dangling after the finale. While I haven't read that far into it, I'd hazard a guess that the series only equates to about the first 2 volumes of the manga, and this certainly left me feeling that it was over just as it was hitting full stride. Nevertheless, I would urge you not to be put off. Moyashimon is an intelligent and well-written comic drama that rarely puts a foot wrong. It isn't as subtle as Genshiken, and it can't boast the madcap hilarity of Full Metal Panic Fumofu, but I would easily rank this as one of the best comedy anime series I've yet seen. At the time of writing, a J-drama live-action version of the story has recently started airing, and going on the first episode, it's actually quite good. It's early days yet, but the cast seem well chosen, and the oddball humour has translated well to the third dimension. My only concern thus far is that the events in the story have been rearranged, and in doing this, the more dramatic elements of the plot seem to have been downplayed. By all means, check out the live-action edition if you want, but personally I'd recommend either watching the anime or picking up the first couple of volumes of the manga first.